teams have multiple players in multiple positions, and there's not an argument about
Facts.
why do you need these many players. If we sign a right winger, I don't want to hear people crying about, well, will he start over Saka? Stop it. I think the mentality as a fan base and the mentality as a club has been wrong for way too long. For the last 5 to 7 years, we have had a mentality where if we bring in a player, if they're not starting, we need to debate why we are even signing them.
Yeah,
And
but
I
that's the
think
thing, Egal, man. Arsenal fans, I do think Arsenal fans, unfortunately, can be hypocrites in a sense of they cry about depth, they cry and cry about depth. And in an ideal world, we want two players of two positions.
and then they
Then
cry,
when
why are we signing a goalkeeper? Like, shut up.
exactly. No, but then you get periods where quote unquote everyone's kind of fit. Like Timber might be fit and starting, Ben White might be on the bench. You start doing this, oh, Ben White is done. We need competition. And if anybody has learned, didn't know the depth, look at this season, how it all panned out. Like if this is the biggest kind of case study. I slightly disagree with what you said, but I agree. I think you should always future proof. But I do think, and where I agree with you, and you're right in that keep signing guys for the future, but there needs to be more of an emphasis on right now, delivering right now. I'm actually cool with Gyökeres is my first target. I'm not as aggressive or against Sesko as some say, because if you don't get them, you're gonna have to be able to pivot elsewhere. And kind of what you said at the start of the stream, like we're gonna have to be able to pivot because it's all only one team, but they can get more than one player. But Gyökeres can only go one place, Sesko can only go one place. If you don't get them two strikers, God forbid, for whatever reason, you need to bring me a next one. I don't want to hear we tried. I've heard about powders dry and all of those kind of stuff, and we can spend peas and whatnot. That's why I actually think we're linked with all of these players, because I remember an article coming out that Bert is speaking to many people and he's just being able to pivot. So that's what we got to do. But there
Can I
should
say
be
something? You know the title of the video, Benjamin Sesko, 92.5 million.
mad thing.
I will tell you right now, if you find that article, they are trying to prize him away. What they're doing is they put the price so high because they know how good of a talent he is, but at the same time, they don't want to let him go for in and around 60, 70. So they're basically saying, come get him now, or else we're going to keep him for another year, try to get back into the champs next year, and we can then sell him still for like a 70 or 80 million next year. So they're like, I think RB Leipzig are trying to prize everybody out of a move for him this window so they can keep him. And if he does ball out, somebody will still come and purchase him for a ridiculous price next year.
Fair. I personally think, yeah, that's a point. I think it's a thing where they're looking at Premier League clubs. Obviously, I don't know how much his release clause is, but it's less than this. Nobody wants to run them all of that money all in one go. So I think they're saying, you know what, if you pay a bit more, we'll structure the payment terms in whatever. And it piggybacks on what you said in that, whatever people say, the man's stock is rising. He was wanted by bare clubs last year. He was pictured at his agent was at Old Trafford, at Chelsea's ground and us. People are probably still sniffing. No doubt they'll sniff you next year. I would love Gyökeres. There's reality. We get Gyökeres. Sesko goes and becomes the best thing since sliced bread, and we wonder what if. But I just want a right now one, and I wonder. I would love to be a fly on the wall at London Coley, because I've never had a conversation with Arteta or Roberto or any of them guys. Yeah, but it felt like prior to Berta, Partey was probably going to leave. Trossard was probably going to leave. Partey wasn't going to be given a new deal. Sesko would have probably been the main target and is still linked with us. Where Berta's come in now, and you see it with the David Ornsteins, I think it's him pivoting a bit more to the Gyökereses, to keeping Trossard, to Partey. And I get that as a kind of a sense of, that's more of the win now mode thing that I want to say. And that, you know what, Arsenal,
like
fine
that.
stars of tomorrow and that, guys, for right now. So
I like that. I like that. Also, the Julian Alvarez stuff, I think is BS. I'm sorry
we'll
for
go
any.
over that, man. We need structure, my boy. We need structure. And
My,
you know
my,
what? We've got to discuss this, man. Because before I ask you your opinions, I don't know if people have been living under a rock and they haven't seen what Thierry Henry said or Arteta's in relation to Arteta. So I'm just going to read it out, people. The last 3 years, we have been in a situation where we should at least bring a cup to the club or be in a final. Man United played 5 finals in their last 5 years. The United that everybody laughs at in the last 3 years of building, Arsenal didn't reach a final. This year, we didn't compete with Liverpool. I don't know what people think, but we didn't compete, not once. I agree with that. I'm not saying this season was a disappointment. Yes, it was. But it's normal that people are raising questions now about what the team is doing. What do you feel about that?
I think he's right about the cup part. Definitely, he's right about the cup part. The last 3 years, we should have maybe at least been into a final, but we did compete for the league for 2 out of those 3 years. So I do think you should acknowledge that. at some point throughout this conversation. He went on to finish with, "Oh, we didn't compete this year." I get that, but at least mention, because I view challenging for the league as good as getting to a final and losing, because both of them you're still competing for a major honor. You just unfortunately neither one did you win. Would it be better if we didn't compete last year but we got to a FA Cup final? Would it be better this season that we didn't win the league but we ended up getting to a Champions League final? Maybe, but I don't think it's that far off from each other. Getting to a final or getting or competing for the league. I would actually say competing for the league and getting to a final day and losing is more of a is shows more of the character and development of the squad than reaching a FA Cup or League Cup final and not winning.
I can't lie, man. I personally think the media has done what they're gonna do, and they're just schemed around getting clicks and engagement and whatever. Because when you actually watch it or listen to what he said, I actually don't think he said anything wrong. I think he was quite critical of Arteta. I actually think he gave him his praise, and I think he raised some valid questions. And for me, I don't think there's anything wrong in that. If the manager is so good, if our players are so good, yeah, there's been injuries in that. But if man rate this team so much, why is it not a fair question to say in the league, like you said, you can equate that to being in the final, why we haven't got over the line or where the cups are? There's a lot of explaining. And you know, if we really believe Arteta's comments about we were the best team in the Champions League, I think it's fair to then ask, why have we not won that? If we said, it weren't even Arsenal fans, not last year, the year before when we missed out to City, we're saying we've been the best team in the league, yada, yada, yada. Why didn't we get over the line? The year before that, fair enough, it was our first year, but we led for about 200 days. Why didn't we get over the line? Is it not fair to ask if the gaffer's this good and this player is great and this and that, and we've got great top six record, we're improving in the, Arteta's second year in the Champions League, he's been to semis and quarters. Is it not fair to then say, like, right, get over the line?
No, that's fair. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing
Fair
wrong with
enough.
that. The only part I'm saying is I feel like he's being a little disingenuous saying we didn't compete, we didn't get to a final, but competing for the league, I would say, shows a lot of the character that he's asking for.
Yeah, you know what? When I watched Dan Potts' segment with you, I mean, like now that I've actually heard your comments, fair, but he sounded a lot more critical, man. Fair enough.
No, I was more critical about the Raheem Sterling part. I
What, where
thought
he
that
talked about
part
number 9?
I thought that part was ridiculous.
Why?
He's because he's categorically wrong.
How?
If you have the quote, you can pull it up. He
I
goes
don't, you
he
know.
goes into he goes into the fact that we didn't sign a striker and says Arteta wanted Raheem Sterling and all this other stuff. Where is it? You want me to try
No,
to
no,
find
this
it?
is just no, this is just. I was going to ask you this, but you kind of spoke about getting over the line earlier. It's just obviously it's without context, but Arteta does need to prove he's a
I
winner.
found it
Like,
here if you want it.
yeah, send it, because we're just not getting over the line.
Let me send it to you. So yeah, it's pretty much he went in on Arteta talking about we all wanted a number 9 and he got Raheem Sterling. It's like, what are we doing here? At this
But
point, we're
Arsenal
talking.
did though, man. What's wrong with that? We all wanted a 9, and Arsenal, whether that's Arteta,
No,
Edu, those
he's
above him,
saying on Arteta, he said he got
send it.
Raheem
Have you?
Sterling.
You haven't sent it. Have you sent it?
I sent it to you. I sent it to you in your DM.
Oh, this guy
My bad.
could have made it easier, Mike. Well, it's cool. Let me
You
get
wanted
it
me
up.
to put it in the private chat.
No, carry on speaking. You're gonna lose your point, man. The fans are
All
listening.
right. So Thierry Henry on Arteta, he got Raheem Sterling when everybody wanted a 9. He had time to get a 9. He
The club
had
did.
time. I'm not the coach. I don't know the discussions. Everyone was screaming or a 9, apart from when we won against Real Madrid, of course, right? But we don't need a 9. It's like, what is he keep talking about a striker? Obviously, Arteta wants a striker. Obviously, Arteta wanted a striker. Obviously, when Raheem Sterling signs for the club, you're gonna give it the rah rah. I believe in him. I believe he can do it. I believe we got ourselves somebody who can make our team better. We were desperate at that point of the window. We were so desperate. Even what do you call it? Edu came out and said he was not part of the plans. But now I think we got ourselves somebody who has experience, knows the manager, knows the Premier League. He's kind of a Premier League proven. Let's see what he can do. And in my opinion, It was a throw the darts, try to get something out of nothing. We had at that point it was either get nobody in to give us no squad depth or get Raheem Sterling in. At the end of the day, we got Raheem Sterling in, and he basically was equivalent to getting nobody in because he didn't really offer us much for the majority of the season. I personally think Arteta getting criticism for Raheem Sterling signing for the club is ridiculous. Arteta getting criticism for a striker not signing for the club is also ridiculous because he wanted Isaac, he wanted Dusan Vlahovic, he ended up getting Jesus. He wanted a striker in the January window. He didn't get the striker he wanted in the January window. He said on numerous occasions in press conferences, "Did I say I don't want a striker? When did I say I don't want a
Yeah,
striker?"
in the last 6 to 8 months, he's been a lot more aggressive on the striker front. I disagree where he shouldn't get criticism on it because obviously I know his quote unquote his hands might have been tied or whatever. But in the same way, if Raheem Sterling was the best thing since sliced bread, I would be praising you, and I'm sure many people would be saying the manager's good and whatnot. So we can't just absolve Mikel Arteta of anything from Raheem Sterling. I do think a tiny bit of disingenuousness from that. And then I disagree in the sense of, you know how I said earlier about one thing I need from Berta is to be able to pivot because Arsenal get into this weird trap of we're linked with a bunch of players. Then it seems like we only want one. Sometimes we get the player. If not, we don't. In last summer, Sesko. Now, I don't know if Sesko they were really aggressive on that. But if they come to a consensus on Sesko or even this summer, they've known they've needed a striker for a while. And there might have been other kind of options. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm
You
not
know
saying
what
it should
happened
have.
with Sesko, right?
Yeah, we know what happened with Sesko, but that's my point. Sesko said, I want to stay. If he was really that aggressive on wanting a striker, Sesko cannot be the only forward you wanted. Could you have died? And I'm not saying signing Marino was bad. I'm not saying signing Calafiori was bad. Could you have pivoted your budget to somebody like that, to a more developmental signing, which even that could have helped us?
I think we lied. If we lied to Sesko and told him he's the number one starter, we would have got him. I think I think
We should have. And if
I
he's
think
scared of Kai Havertz, I'm looking at Sesko funny. And this is
I
from
think
someone who rates him.
we should have took a book out of Chelsea's book and just been like, "Hey, come here. You're one of our guys," and then that player ends up finding themselves on the bench and they'll be surprised. But regardless, we're not ruthless when it comes to our transfer window. We're not ruthless in how we deal with players and agents. We're more like buddy buddy, too friendly, too kind, too much wanting relationships. Like, who cares about your relationship with Brighton or this club? Get us the player. Like, I don't give a
Right.
shit about your relationship with Brighton. If you would have got us Caicedo 2 years ago, we wouldn't be trophyless right now.
And this is why I keep saying I just need an ability to pivot. If you get Yokerez or Sesko, I'm happy as Larry. If you do this, that, the other, don't come and tell me when the window closed. We tried, powder dry, market opportunity. It's a bit, I have no doubt you tried, but then there's another sense of it. Did you get it done or not? It's just like, I have no doubt the players and everybody tried to win it. I can criticize how we went about it, but we tried to win trophies. We didn't do it. So you need to hold the licks appropriately and move forward with that. But yeah, that's Thierry Henry, man. You know, again, people would always hate on it. People would hate Egal. I don't think Egal said anything quite critical. I've seen a lot more BS on social media about Thierry Henry, about, oh, where would you be? What have you done in your career? You're right. As a manager, Henry ain't done nothing. But if Henry, a former player, cannot have an opinion on football matters, Egal, myself, everybody in the comments might as well shut the hell up then. It's
And you
not
know
making any
something?
sense.
When you disagree with somebody, be it a club legend or be somebody who hasn't done shit for your club, like William Gallas, regardless,
Now,
I
fuck
will
Gallus,
I will
million
I
percent.
will I will I will call them out if I disagree.